Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Hi,
wa barakatuh. Whoa, let me see. Let me just adjust the camera. Sister Fatima, how are you?
good, alhamdulillah. How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, mashallah.
Okay.
The video quality is fantastic. How are you doing? How was the first day of Qalam today?
It
You guys,
was
just to
so
kind of tell
good.
people as they're kind of coming in, today was the first day of Qalam, y'all. And Sister Fatima, Ustadha Fatima, is one of the teachers and instructors. Alhamdulillah. Sister Ustadha Fatima, how was it?
It was really good. It was so busy. It was so like, I don't know, just doing it online too is a little bit different. So everything was like meaning like instead of jumping in classrooms, I was jumping in Zoom meetings. So it was
Cyber
good.
hopping.
Yeah, it's like kind of bittersweet. Like it's great that it's the first day, but I miss it being the first day of us coming back to school.
SubhanAllah. Wait, are you in Dallas right now? Where are you?
I
You're still
I
there, obviously. Gotcha. How many students are right now? Obviously tuning in
we
online and everything.
yeah, we have about 230,
230?
230. Yeah, there's like over 100 students in the Arabic class.
Oh my God. Let me try to wrap my head around it. You said
Yeah.
230 across all 5 years.
Yep.
My goodness gracious. I mean, it was
Yep.
100 last year. This is like a 100.
Yep.
Amazing, incredible,
So we're
man.
just like,
Mashallah.
alhamdulillah, but like it's kind of crazy because we're used to like 50, 60. Last year was crazy with 100 students, and this year we more than doubled our
Man,
students.
subhanAllah. What, by the way, what are you teaching?
So I teach. I'm teaching Ulum Quran, sciences of the Quran,
Nice.
and it's fun. It's just interesting. Like when I first started teaching it, I was thinking to myself, man, like I remember being a student and learning this and it being one of my favorite subjects. And even like in our last year, I had read Fawz
Sure.
al-Kabir, that other Ulum Quran book. And so now that I'm teaching it, I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird. It's like good. I enjoy it and I'm happy. But at the same time, I'm like, this is very interesting. Like I don't really know how to feel.
SubhanAllah. I mean, Ulum al-Quran is so deep. I mean, you can I mean, I don't know if you probably saw Yaqeen Institute's article that came out recently on the
Yeah.
ahruf and everything. Subhanallah. By the way, folks, those of you who are tuning in, first of all, Assalamu alaikum. We're about to get started, inshallah, with our latest episodes of Four Hangouts. And today our topic is, where are the female scholars? And who better to answer that question than a female scholar, a Shaykha, Ustadha, Sister Fatima Lette. You guys, she was one of my classmates. We graduated together. And alhamdulillah, I have the honor and privilege of hosting her. Ustadha Fatima, just to give you a breakdown of the format of how we do the Hangouts. So I'm going to have a few questions for you that are lighthearted. Then there will be some questions that are a little bit more on the heavy side. Then finally, we have questions for the audience. Now, if the
Okay.
audience are able to answer a question, they win gift cards. And the question is
Cool.
going to pop up basically in the screen below. And that's how the audience kind of get to interact and answer the question. So to get the ball rolling on our topic today, here's the first question, more on the lighthearted side. We call it the deep cuts, Hassan Minhaj type questions. So here's the first one to get the ball rolling. So, how's life post your BFF, Ustadha Atfa, getting married? I was like, I have
That's
to ask this.
that is a great question.
Ask.
Okay, so yes, my best friend slash my roommate, she got married in June. Yeah, it feels like so long ago. Life post your best friend getting married is really interesting because there's like a third wheel who's there all the time. Like he doesn't go
Mm,
away. So it's
so,
really interesting. Alhamdulillah, it's been good. It's been an adjustment
yeah,
for sure. But it's been a lot less trolling because I
yeah.
can't troll her all the time.
Do you feel like you have to compete for her time now with Haris?
I feel like there's no competition. I always win. So I have to give him
I
some
like
wins,
that.
you know? I have to like be like, okay, I guess you can hang out with her today and I'll see you guys next week or whatever. It's never next week, it's like 2 days later.
I
So
hope you
there's
and Haris are
not
getting
much.
along.
Getting along is a stretch, you know? Yeah, so it's a stretch.
Oh,
I mean, we're civil, we're cordial. I'm like
alhamdulillah.
respectful-ish, kind
Alhamdulillah.
of.
That's
Sometimes I
awesome.
walk him out of his own house, just for fun. you know?
MashaAllah. I know you guys always had an amazing dynamic. So, Sister Fatma, for those people who may not be familiar with your work and your background, I wanted to get the ball rolling by asking, can you share with us what got you into Islamic scholarship to begin with? And how did you get past the intimidation of being a female scholar, an African American on top? What was that journey for you starting out?
Yeah, so this is like a long story, but I'm gonna try to make it like really, short as possible. So
Perfect.
there are many aspects to it that kind of got me into it. I would say that one of the biggest things was like growing up, my parents, especially my mom, she was very particular about like how she wanted to raise her kids,
Mm,
So I come from a family, a household of a lot. There's 7 boys and then there was me. And so there's, basically a lot of boys in the house. And then you had me, Fatima, the only girl there. And so there in Atlanta, growing up in Atlanta, there was a lot of resources for young boys. Like there was like this basketball thing you could
mm,
do, and like you can memorize Quran and like all this stuff. But my mom wanted to put me in Hifz. There was no Hifz programs for
wow.
girls. And back in that time, in the time that was like the prime age for me to go and do Hifz. Um, and there was just like so many different things that just did not work out. And so my mom, she will always make dua. Like she'll always make dua. Like I hope she,
Oh, wow.
like studies Islam. She always wanted that. She always wanted her kids, all of us, to do that. So I remember growing up, I would kind of feel like, man, like it would be nice to have somebody to look up to. Like it would be nice to have
Mm,
somebody to relate to. It would be nice to have somebody to like talk to be like, listen, I'm going through this situation,
right.
or this is what's happening. How do I, deal with that, especially from a female's perspective and things of that nature. And so when it came down to it, honestly, like when I was in high school, early college, end of high school, early college, I just realized that if I keep waiting around, like I'm not gonna have anyone. Like I'm not gonna have
Mm,
anybody to do this. And sure, I may have missed out on this like amazing like experience of having someone to look up to who was younger. I should clarify that because my Quran teacher, she's like amazing, but she was much
yeah.
older. So there are some things you don't tell older people. You just kind of let it go, So
Speaking of older individuals, Sheikh Abdul Nasser is in the house. I just wanted to, Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum.
sorry,
Um,
Shaykhs.
nice to see you. Feel free to drop your comments, Sheikh. Sorry, Sister Fatima, you were saying.
No worries. Yeah, so I felt like at that time it was just kind of like a situation of, okay, well, if you want that, you want these role models, you want people to be able to have people to look up to and stuff like that, you have to study. Like you have to
Yes.
study. And I was doing some youth programs here and there, but I didn't have any background. All I had
Mm,
was whatever Islamic studies that I had been taught growing up, which was from different scholars and different teachers. But this is I have to screenshot this for real quick because
please
I gotta
do.
make sure that I keep this
Subhanallah.
comment forever.
Barakallah feek, Sheikh.
um,
Oh, man.
yeah.
So,
So
Sister Fatima, so
yeah. So it
while
was
you're
a
on the high school,
big dua.
sorry, go ahead.
It was
Yes,
a
go ahead,
lot
go
of
ahead.
duas from parents and things of that nature. Yeah.
So, when you were thinking about making the transition from, let's say, high school, college, thinking about your career plans, obviously there's this whole intimidation factor of going into Islamic studies. People are like, "Are you going to feed your family? What are you going to be at the mercy of the community's charity? Is that what you want to pursue?" And
Mm.
being a female on scholar or trying to be a female scholar on top, what was the biggest sacrifice for you and biggest hurdle you had to overcome?
I think there are many. One of the biggest ones was like going against the norm, because like you said, like the norm is go to college, all this stuff. And I did go to college. I did, receive a bachelor's in psychology and stuff like
Nice.
that. But the thing is that sometimes people think that the one track way that everybody is doing things is the only way to do it, and that's
Mm,
not necessarily true. And so like for me, especially in my case, it was very big. Like college education is a huge thing in my family, and it's like
gotcha.
non-negotiable.
Wow.
So when the conversation came up, like I'm going to move to Dallas, it was first of all, my whole family pretty much lives in Atlanta. So they're like, "Where are you going to Dallas for?" Like, I heard Dallas is like, you know, a desert. I'm like, I'm going to learn Arabic. And so
Facts.
that was like a whole thing. But I remember one of the very important conversations that I had with my father, especially going into my second year of studies. He said to me that you have to do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do. So you want to study,
Mm,
you want to do this, you want to study, but what's non-negotiable is your college education. So if
gotcha.
you figure out how to do it, then you can do it. And it was kind of like a, you know, figure it out. But the thing is, and the thing that I tell like my kids, not my kids, but my, you know, teenagers and stuff like that I work with, is that it's so important that when you want to make a decision in life that you think is very good for you and you may make it harder about it and Allah opens up doors, don't think it's going to be something that's just like a walk in the park. You know, it's not
I
just going to
see.
be everybody throwing flowers at you and saying, wow, you did such a great job, da da da. It's hard work. I mean, we were classmates.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you know, I felt like we collectively felt each other's emotions, even if we didn't go through the same thing.
Yeah.
But it was hard. It's hard sacrificing family, you know, where my whole family lives in one state and I'm in another.
Subhanallah.
And just those types of things. So I feel like those are big. But and never think that just because, you know, you're doing something different than everybody else, you're wrong. You know, because
Mm,
sometimes you feel like everybody is doing this and I'm the only one who's doing, you know,
gotcha.
something different. It's not necessarily that's the case. Some people
Sure.
just have different cards in life that they're dealt, and so you do with that accordingly.
So on that note, you know, just briefly, I wanted to get this question in there. Is that why Kalam? How did you get to Kalam as your path of knowledge, if you will?
That is a very good question. It's probably one of my favorite questions because I feel like when I first wanted to study Arabic, I just wanted to study Arabic. Like, I just wanted to study to understand the Quran. Going further wasn't my plan at
Gotcha.
all. Like, when I moved to Dallas, I was moving here for a year to study Arabic. That's it. And I was
Gotcha.
going back to
Was that with
Atlanta.
Bayina initially?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I was going back to Dallas. I mean, I was going back to Atlanta, finished college, you know, took 1 year off, stuff like that. But what happened was that in 2013, I met Shaykhs Nasser.
Mm,
And when I met Shaykhs Nasser, he was one of the biggest things that I wanted was I did want a mentor. Like, I
sure.
wanted a mentor in life. I didn't know exactly when this mentor was going to come. I didn't know, you know, what exactly I wanted from them, but I knew what I didn't want. And that's
Mm,
kind of how I am as a person. So I didn't really want like anybody that was going to like change me. I
gotcha.
wanted to be like a better Fatima. Like,
I
that's my
see.
whole goal in life. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me a personality. He gave me an identity. And I just want to be the best me that I could possibly be.
Oh,
And so I wanted a mentor that would recognize those different qualities that I had, the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, and just really help me reach my highest potential
gotcha.
and be able to communicate with me in a way that's like that I understand and I get it, you know,
Gotcha.
because
Gotcha.
sometimes people can communicate, but the other person has to get it,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
for
and
sure. For
so
sure.
if I
So,
don't
so
understand
Sheikh
what
kind
they're
of
going
pulled you
through,
in as almost like a
yes,
magnet. Gotcha.
yeah.
And you've
So
been
when I
there
met
since.
him, he was very kind. We met. My cousin knew him. Hassan knew him, so he was like, "Oh, I can have you meet Sheikh Nasser before you move to Dallas because it would be good." Sheikh said, "I have this program. It's called Qalam." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm just going for Arabic, you know. But it's okay.
Nice.
Like, I'll think about it." And so then I remember that after leaving that meeting, what really stuck with me was how he was saying that he wanted to cultivate or raise a group of young people that will be able to teach this deen in a very sustainable way. That
Nice.
later on, at that time, he only had two daughters. Only had daughters. Only had two kids. That his kids, his daughters, will have someone to look up to, and have people
Mm,
to like teach them their deen, especially women. And so when he said that, like, it really stuck with me. But I was like, this Gollum thing is probably not gonna work out, you know. Um,
gotcha.
and the feeling that I got my first year at Gollum is something that was kept me coming back, like this
Amazing.
refining of the self.
So, if you don't mind me revealing this, you are still teaching Sheikh's daughters, right?
I do still teach his
Do you still?
daughters.
And if you don't, sorry if I'm putting your spiritual or personal business out there. Just wanted people to know. And Sister Ustadha Fatima, on that note, today, Alhamdulillah, as you guys launched Qalam,
Yeah.
to the best of my knowledge, at least two or three people from Milwaukee have joined.
Yes.
Amin Ara, Alhamdulillah, started Kalam. Sana Monroe, we just
Yes.
saw her earlier. She was commenting. She also started Kalam today. And I believe Sister Afra and Amna as well. Although I don't want to speak on their behalf, but at least 4 people this year are joining Kalam. And really the strategy with ISM Core as well is to create a core effect where we have different programs. And just like Kalam does through Umrah trip and Quran intensive and other things, we're trying to channel people through Core Academy and then eventually through Kalam. So hopefully we can channel people to advanced Islamic studies and bring those people hopefully back here. And that's why I keep telling you, Shaykh, please don't steal anybody. Please, Shaykh, I need everybody back. We have a very few people. And bring them back and hopefully give back to the community. On that note, I'm going to put up a question for the audience. You guys, please bring up the chat box. Get ready. Here's the first question that I wanted to ask you guys. And first come, first serve, first person to answer gets the points. Here we are. And here comes the first question of the day. 3, 2, 1. Just to give you a heads up, you have to complete this hadith. It's a famous hadith. Here we are. Famous hadith that comes in Bukhari. A woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, men are hogging all your time. غَلَبَنَا عَلَيْكَ الرِّجَالِ. What was the, no, the screen is not showing the entire question. What was the outcome of that conversation? A little bit of an advanced question, but ladies coming to the Prophet ﷺ, and we're talking about female scholarship, and they're like, Ya Rasulullah, men are taking all your time, and we feel like we're missing out. How did that meeting end? That's a question I want to ask you guys because it's such a beautiful outcome that happened. And this just tells you how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with Islamic scholarship when it came to the ladies. Here we go. Sister Aina Hard is the first one. Sister Fatima, if you're seeing this as well.
I can't see it.
I see Sister Aina Hard, he made a day just to teach the sisters, and that is absolutely the correct answer. The Prophet ﷺ made a special day just to teach the ladies, and this started the chain of scholarship, or ignited the chain of scholarship that inshallah will produce the likes of Aisha radiallahu anha and Salama radiallahu anha, and the list goes on from there, subhanallah, and Asma binti Abi Bakr radiallahu anha. So thank you very much, Sister Aina. Congratulations for winning the first question. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and increase you in knowledge. Allahumma zid fazid ya Rabbil Alameen. With this, I have a question for you, Sister Ustadha Fatima, and that is, Desi cuisine is the universal cuisine, inshallah. Given many of your teachers are Desi, I'm sure you agree. Or are you still hanging on to the Ghanan tradition, right? Is that correct?
Gambian.
Gambian tradition. My bad.
You're close. You're very close. I'm still hanging on to my Gambian tradition.
Oh man, Sheikh, we need work here.
Desi food is like, it's good for sure. It's very good, but you know, I judge food by spice too, and you guys' spiciness, it's just hot for no reason. There's not like a flavor to the spice.
What have you been eating at that? Oh man.
And Gambian
so tell us about your top Gambian dish that is apparently competing. Peanut butter soup.
It's so good. It's so good. Peanut butter soup is so good. So it's savory, okay? So basically what you do is you make some lamb or some beef and you cook it very soft, and then you add like 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and some tomato paste and a lot of seasonings. And then what we do is that our peppers are like Scottish hot peppers. So what we do is that we'll put that into the stew, and then you let it boil and become thick and nice and so good, and add some carrots in it. It's so good.
Nice. Is there a name for this? Like it's a fancy?
It's called, well, English we call it peanut butter soup, but it's called Domodah, Domodah. Yeah. Gotcha. It's so good.
Inshallah, we'll take your word for it. It's hard
and then there's also jollof rice, which is kind of like the Gambian.
Is that your favorite?
Peanut butter soup is my favorite, hands down.
Gotcha. Man,
jollof rice is good. We make the best jollof rice. I know some people from Ghana or some people from Nigeria and stuff, they will compete with that, but we make the best jollof rice.
So, on that note, speaking of diversity and a different background, you being a female scholar, African American, did you ever face discrimination? As now that mashallah you're going to the conferences, speaking in different places, teaching in different locations, did that ever haunt you?
I would say that it is a thing that I have faced in the community, and it's definitely hard being in the situation that where you're trying to serve different communities, and they are taken aback by your skin color, or they're
Wow.
taken aback by your culture and things of that nature, or it comes to a point where sometimes your culture is trying to be stripped from you, in the sense that like people will say things like, oh, like you read Quran like an Arab, or you understand this fiqh like a Desi, and it's kind of like, no, like a human being. I'm like Gambian, you know. I'm a Gambian American person. Like I have my
Yeah.
own culture, I have my own background, and we are all Muslim, and like whatever. So it has been it has been many situations where I face, you know, discrimination in the community. But I feel like one of the biggest things to help get through it is having a huge support system. You know, having a huge and a very
What
strong.
was that like for you? And also, while you're commenting on this, if you can also comment on Ustadha Fatima, do you feel like sisters are facing a lot of pressure? Sorry, um, are they being held back from pursuing Islamic scholarship because of culture or family dynamics? Based on what your interactions have been, like, are we somehow discouraging our sisters from going into Islamic scholarship? How do you feel is the trend right now?
I feel like the trend right now is very weird. It's in the middle, kind of.
Okay.
There's the trend of some people who are pursuing, you know, Islamic scholarship because they are like, where are the female scholars? You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And because this question is coming up, then it's kind of like, okay, I need to do something about it. But
Yeah.
then there is society that does tell you, like, don't do it, you know, in the sense
Mm,
that whether it be Islamic education or regular education or regular jobs or, you know, whatever the case may be, there's a huge conversation around women and their ability to contribute more to society than just the family. And it's not just in a bad way, but in
yeah.
the sense that, like, you know, when you're growing up and you're just told that like your only responsibility, your only role is to get married and have kids, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, why invest so much time and energy into anything else if I'm just going to
SubhanAllah.
throw that all away when I get married?
Yeah. Yeah. SubhanAllah. You know, wallahi, you won't believe this. I remember in Pakistan growing up, this was the exact thing that was told to sisters who were thinking about memorizing Quran. And I remember a sheikh, like I'm quoting, he told my dad asked actually one of the sheikhs about should my daughter memorize the Quran because both of my sons did. And the response he got is, he's like, I wouldn't push it too hard because likely she's gonna forget when she starts taking care of her in-laws. There's so
Mm,
many things wrong with that statement.
yeah,
First of all, the expectation's already there. You got to take care of the in-laws. Then the expectations there. You got to go hand, like you got to go hard serving the
yeah,
in-laws to a point that it'll cause you to forget Quran. And
yeah,
that she was, and I wallahu alam, I don't know if that's why she wasn't put in the hip school. My dad bought the advice or not. But like this is the rhetoric. These are the
yeah.
trends.
And it's very difficult, especially for young girls growing up in this society where they do have hobbies and they do have things that they want to accomplish. And it feels like, you know, am I doing something wrong because I want to accomplish something else? It doesn't mean that you don't have those roles. It just means that you're just adding to your roles, right? You're just
Yes.
adding that, yeah, I am a wife, I am a mother, but I'm also an artist, or I'm also a teacher, you know? And so sometimes it kind of feels like you just get boxed into just one category, and that's the only category you're allowed to be in.
SubhanAllah. You know, I don't know if you agree with me on this. I remember, I think Mufti Kamani was saying this, the Sheikh Abu Hassan Ali al-Nadwi. He used to say that the sun of Islam will rise from the west now. You know, and it was such a powerful statement going
Mm-hmm.
off the Day of Judgment as well. Son of Islam will rise from the west. And I can't help but think one of the reasons why is because we need something like the Society of the West to remove the cultural baggage and barriers that we have to remove the barriers that we've put on our sisters. And even right now, as you know, I've heard things like in Al Azhar, if you want to get into engineering, you need 90%. You want to go into Sharia, you need 60%. So we have downgraded and remove their level of prestige from Islamic
Mm-hmm.
studies. And then on top of that, we hold people back. I feel like that's changing with the melting pot that we're living in now. What do you? I don't know if you agree with me on this analysis. I think we lost you for a second, Sister Fatima. Was I that loud? Okay, you're
Okay,
back. You're
sorry.
back.
I
Yes.
lost you for a second.
Yes, no problem. So I don't know if my question came through or not about how the Islam.
Not
Go ahead. Go ahead, sister. Ustadha Fatima.
Oh, the last part. I think I didn't get the last part of the question.
Yeah. So what I was saying, I feel like us living in the West, we're kind of being the antidote to that cultural baggage that's been holding us back for centuries now.
And I think that what you're saying is really true. And then what comes to my mind, though, is what Sheikh Nasser says all the time. Like, one extreme breeds another, right? So then we have this
Yes.
issue in society, especially in the Muslim community, where you have parents coming and saying things, and I'm sure you've gotten this, that my daughter never wants to get married, and she never wants to do this, and she just wants to pursue,
Yeah.
like, career. But it's kind of like, well, they've been suppressed for so long that they feel like, okay, what do I have for myself, where it pushes you to that opposite extreme of putting all your energy into that career, when really what we're trying to do, or what we should be doing, is raising a nation of young girls who can be balanced, and young men who understand society, like who understand that, okay, this person is a human being who has their own talents, their own wants, their own likes, their own dislikes. Like, we need to be raising a new generation of people who are very balanced in their understanding, and they're taking away from life, and also just treat each other like human beings that have rights, like it's my right to want an education, like it's your right to want to make some type of income, like as long as I'm not I'm not stepping over your rights, then it shouldn't be a problem.
That's profound. That's profound. So with this, y'all, I want to fire off. I'm gonna come back to this point, Ustadha Fatima, in a second. I wanted to fire off another question to the audience. You guys, here we go. This is the second question of the day, and 3, 2, 1. A beautiful narration and a situation. Here we are. After the Prophet ﷺ, when the Sahaba were stuck on a vexing legal issue, what would they typically do? And obviously the topic is a big hint. I will not say any more. But this is a narration that comes from Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. Imam Tahawi brings it. Many collections of Islam bring this hadith. Is that after the Prophet ﷺ's companions sometimes would be stumped by an issue. And one of the strategies that they would use is the one we're looking for an answer to. So, take a guess, y'all. Refer the person to someone else. Okay, very cool. But now the topic is, given the topic, Sister Sana, there's a more specific answer that can be given. Keep trying, y'all. Yes. Okay, so Sister Aina, you're in the ballpark. Sister Aina, you're in frozen mode. You already answered the first question. Now we're keeping an eye out for you. Ask Aisha radiallahu anha. Thank you, Sister Nadia, and once again, congratulations for winning another gift card. You guys, I don't know if Sister Fatima, you want to comment on this? How the companions would sit outside of the house of Aisha, seeking knowledge from her.
Yeah, Aisha radiallahu anha, she's like one of my favorite companions. Honestly, when I talk about personality, identity, and just the being of yourself, she's my go-to companion to talk about, just because she was so. It's one thing to just be educated, but it's another thing to be educated and have such an amazing personality on top of that. And I really like the narrations that talk about how her nephew used to come and ask her questions about like inheritance. And she's like, you don't have like like, why are you asking me questions about inheritance? Like, and literally she like, and he tells her like, oh, so-and-so down the way, like asked me to ask you, right? And so for me, it's just like, she was so knowledgeable, and she wasn't like stingy with her knowledge. Like, she wanted to share it. She wanted to, help the ummah. She wanted to give in whatever way she could give. And she was so well versed. It wasn't that she was only knowledgeable in Islamic stuff. She was knowledgeable in poetry, to the point that when Abu Bakr Siddiq was, when he was really sick, and then she had recited some lines of poetry to him, and he said that would have been better if you recited the Quran to me. Like, you said some verses from the Quran. And I just like, it's so good. Like, that's just so good.
Amazing.
She was good at medicine. She was good
and medicine math too. Isn't it amazing?
She was great at math. Inheritance always went to her. She was good at family law, family issues. Like, she was just
polymath. Subhanallah,
Crazy.
subhanallah. So speaking of female scholarship, Sister Fatima, when you look at the cultural scape or the landscape of America right now, particularly in the West, do you see a growing rapid trend where sisters are getting into Islamic scholarship? Does that please you? Are you satisfied? What kind of feeling do you get when you see? Are there? I mean, you look at the Qalam enrollment, for instance. You see what's happening in Miftah Al Madina Institute. How do you feel right now? Are you optimistic? What does your heart say?
I'm very optimistic. I'm very
Yeah,
optimistic. I feel like, you know, I feel like there has been female scholars that we've had in the past as well. And there are some present that have been here for many years. They're just all so spread thin, you know?
yeah,
And so I feel like the new upcoming group of female scholars and Ustadhas, like I'm really happy. And I really make a lot of dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a lot of barakah, you know, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a
Ameer.
lot of His blessing and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows them to be people who are in service of His deen, you know, does khidmah
Yes,
to His deen, despite all of the different hiccups and the different, you know, very large speed bumps that appear along the way. But
yes.
I'm very optimistic, and I do feel like it's such a beautiful sight to see.
Nice, nice. On that note, our with growing trend of female scholarship, sisters always say this. There are certain sister issues that only sisters need to be talking about, and we need female scholars who are going to be able to tackle those issues. Where do you stand on this? Do you feel like is enough work being done on, let's say, female fiqh, and current trends in women's studies? Like, do you feel like women scholars are rising to the challenge? How does that dynamic looking like?
I feel like some are the ones that have the capacity to are, and they're doing the best that they can. But
Gotcha.
I also feel like there's still more work to be done in
Yeah.
the sense that there's the demand is so high. That's the thing. The demand is so
Yes.
high and the supply is so low. So that's the
Mashallah.
best way to explain it. That people are doing the best that they can. The qualified sisters are doing the best that they can, and it's going to take a little bit of time before we get a new wave of qualified sisters. In the
Yes.
sense that part of qualification is not only your studies but also your experience. You know,
Yes.
experience, it takes time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's something that we have to remember and keep in mind, that not everybody who, even myself, talking to myself, like comes out of an alim program doesn't make me an alim, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's so important to recognize that and realize that this takes a lot of time in
Sure.
cultivating and molding, you know? And so what gets us dangerous is that when we just try to put people in positions that they don't need to be in,
Mm.
and we throw them into the deep end way too early. And so
Mm.
that's even more toxic, in my personal opinion, to a community than not having anything.
Wow. So almost like it may even damage the credibility of female scholarship itself, the entire institution
Absolutely.
of it. One
Absolutely.
thing I try to do my best when it comes to this is to give people a sense of the heritage of female scholarship in our history. And we all like brag about Sheikh Akram Nadwi's 50 volumes of muhaddithat that inshallah are going to be, I hear, published this year. And we actually even shared a link where we were sharing with people how from the earliest generations in different fields of study. Is that Haris? Sorry. uh, Haris, we're going to come back to you, bro. I try to give a sense to people of the just how deep the bench is when it comes to female scholarship. And it may seem this way right now that, oh, there are like, where are the female scholars? But Islamically, I mean, Sheikh Akram Nadwi has collected 10,000 names when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
female scholarship. Based on that, given where our legacy stands, what do you say to rising sisters who are interested in Islamic studies and they're maybe perhaps hesitant? What push can you give, or what advice do you have?
I would say that first thing you do is ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, the very first thing you do is that you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you ask Allah to make this journey easy, because it won't
Mm,
be an easy journey, but you ask Allah to make the journey easy, and you make sure that you are purifying your intentions and the reason why you're embarking on this journey, because at the end of the day, you know, it is something that is very doable. It's very doable. is very much so something that is needed. It's very much so something that you can grow in. But the only way you grow in this field is if you allow yourself to grow.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure you can
How
attest
should
to
they
that.
structure the conversation with parents who are like, holding them back
I
potentially?
think it's important
Yeah.
to get people who your parents really respect involved. Like
Gotcha.
it's so important, and you have to be, and it's very important for you to properly choose the institution that you're going to go study at.
For sure.
A big part of me choosing Colum is because Colum is like a family field, and I knew that would be like my family. They like that. They like homey stuff. They like family stuff. They like people who are involved because they're very involved. Really involved. So they like people who will be like, okay, well, we're going to involve you in this process of like, even if they don't completely understand it. Like I don't come from a huge family of scholars or anything like that. So
Yeah.
even if they don't completely understand the study or whatever the case may be, just the fact that when they will come visit, like the teachers went out of their way to invite them over to their homes, right? Like I remember when my dad came to visit a couple of times, Mufti Kamani invited him over and it was like, well, you have to
Beautiful.
come, or even my brothers, like they had driven down a couple of times in my first year. Sheikh took them out for lunch. Like these were
Amazing.
things that really like eased the family over, where they're kind of like, okay, like we get it. Like she's good. She's taken care of, and they see the practice. They see Islam in theory and in practice.
Wow.
Because if you go and you decide like I'm going to study, and you tell them like I'm going to go study and it's going to be good for me and all this stuff, and you come back home and your parents ask you to wash dishes and you have an attitude, like it's kind of
That's
like,
so
well, why do
powerful.
we send you off?
SubhanAllah. That's so powerful.
So these are the different things that it's like a full package. You can't just approach it from one angle. You have to approach it from many angles. I'm going to better myself Islamically. I'm going to better myself as a daughter to you, like as a child to you. I'm going to better myself even in my education. Like our instructors, our teachers did push us to get our secular education. Like it wasn't like,
Yes.
oh, you just study Islam, that's it. No, you have to be able to function in society and recognize and go to college and all these things. So it's about becoming a well-rounded human being.
Gotcha.
And then the work that you get to do that out of the fadl, the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
SubhanAllah. Barakallahu feek, Ustadha Fatima, for sharing your insight and making yourself available. I can't imagine, after the whole day of work and launching, you must be drained, but you still came on. We're really indebted and really appreciate it. Folks, this right here is a role model for you, especially for our sisters who are trying to pursue Islamic studies. Please feel free to reach out to her. We tagged her in our post in the ISM course flyer that we made for this hangout. Please reach out to her with questions. She works with Roots right now with young people. You're teaching multiple classes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, make things easy for you, keep Haris off your case, and put barakah in your time and impact in your words.
Ameen. Thank you so much for having me, Ameer. Brother
Absolutely.
Ustadha Ameer. I don't know, Imam Ameer.
Yeah, title inflation, it's like, it is what it is.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam. Take care of yourself.
Yes, inshallah.
You guys, with this, we are about to bring an activist on that I am so excited to feature. This is someone who has been working in many different capacities, and I wanted to give him the platform. Brother Wasik, if you're in the house, I wanted to bring you on. Yes, you are. I'm sending you the request right now. Please come on. Love to hear some spoken word and also some of the great work that you've been doing. Haris, I'm gonna bring you on at some point, and then we'll have a proper chat, bro. Assalamu alaikum. Wasik bhai, how are you?
How you doing? Alhamdulillah, how's everything?
Alhamdulillah wa shukrulillah, man. Are you first of all from Houston? Is that right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Houston, so my sister's friends with your wife.
That's right. How you been? How you feeling? How you holding up over there, man?
It's good, man. Alhamdulillah, doing well. Just happy to be here.
Fantastic. So, Wasik bhai, first thing I wanted to ask, if you can give a brief introduction to some of the work that you're doing, and also from there, if you wanted to transition into the spoken word, feel free to do that. Go ahead. Bismillah.
Sure.
By the way, did you want me to put up a picture or something while you are presenting?
Do it towards the very end.
I'll
signal to you at the very end of the phone. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just send that to me and I'll put it up, inshallah.
Okay, okay. You have it, right? I think on your phone.
Wait, is that the one you sent on the Facebook Messenger, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Go ahead. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Honored to be here on ISM Core with Imam Ameer. And Ustadha Fatima, Lette. It's an honor to be in the company of scholars, and inshallah, have the intention to pursue that path.
MashaAllah.
Just a little plug-in for those from Qalam. they can definitely admit me, So
we got you, bro.
I appreciate it. So born and raised in Houston, Texas. Rising senior right now, studying political science at the University of Houston. Minor in leadership studies. I've been involved in activism work for the past 2-3 years. Started my senior year about high school. Founded a civic engagement organization there. And because of the work that I did there, alhamdulillah, was named to the Mayor's Commission Against Gun Violence in Houston. Yeah, so there was a lot of gun violence advocacy work that we completed, policy recommendations, and
amazing.
I came to college, alhamdulillah, then continue that on campus. I think our second semester we launched a Defend Our Voice campaign in Texas. If you're from down here, the political business is a little tight. So there was a law that was made by the Texas lawmakers, which made it illegal to boycott Israel. So literally a violation on your First Amendment rights, and so we launched a student campaign, and care, they sued case, alhamdulillah. Currently, right now, what I'm working on a live campaign, Students for Imam Jamil. It's a campaign for
that's a huge one.
We're working to achieve freedom for political prisoner A. Brown, now Imam Jamil al-Amin. He's like the likes of the next Malcolm X, MLK, and he's a living civil rights icon and human rights activist who's been wrongfully imprisoned for 18 years. And so now, the next generation, we're working on this campaign. Have a rally, inshallah, in Atlanta on October 4th. So just heads up, a national rally. Celebrity speakers, activists, inshallah, Shaykh Suleiman and other people will be down there. So just follow @_free Imam Jamil.
Brother Wasi, I just wanted to ask the audience this, and you guys, if you can just answer yes or no, if you can do us a big favor. How many of you are aware of Imam Jamil's case? Just yes or no. It's okay if you don't. It doesn't make you less woke than anybody else. Well, we just want to know, how much awareness is there? Have you heard of Imam Jamil's case? If you have, yes. If you haven't, no. And then we can find a way to create awareness. So Sister Yasmin, you have. If the rest of you also can just please quickly chime in. It's like a small survey that we wanted to do. So the responses will keep coming in. I know Shaykh Suleiman has been talking about this, and many others are trying to raise awareness. Like, many people have heard of Dr. Asif, I think I'm pronouncing her name wrong. The doctor that is
Afia
Siddiqui. Yes, Afia Siddiqui. Like, we've all heard of that because of the awareness has been raised. But Imam Jamil, man, he hasn't gotten a lot of love.
Yeah. No, so, unfortunately,
a lot of people are now they're chiming in. Most of them are no. So I'm glad, man, you're working on this, and hopefully we can put something up on our story when you're done.
No, definitely. I mean, the problem has been is that the government has been successfully working to suppress his legacy and tarnish it and erase his name from this history of civil rights. And so literally, H. Brown is phenomenal, and his work with Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee with the Black Panther Party, and when he converted to Islam, he moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where the hometown of Ustadha Fatima. And he cleaned up West End neighborhood of Atlanta, anti-drug programs, prostitution, literally because he was so powerful and eloquent and such a organizer in his ability to bring people to Islam. His entire community he cleaned up, drug dealers, prostitutes, and established a national network, Darul Islam movement. If you read about it, African American coordinated movement in America. And the history of even groups like ICNA and ISNA, he helped form a coalition, which is now modern day USCMO, United States Muslim Council of Organizations. Imam Jamil was, a key player in uniting the immigrant and Black Muslim community in America. And so it's our duty, whether you're, young, old, Black, Muslim or not, to stand for justice for Imam Jamil and help him achieve his freedom.
You mentioned 18 years, correct? Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
18 years he's been in jail. Oh my God, man.
And he's convicted as a state prisoner, and right now he's held as in federal prison, though he's never been convicted of a federal crime. And the reason why is because this guy was spitting dawah to like the security guards, converted them to Islam, converted the leader of the Aryan nation to Islam, and they put him in the worst prison
Aryan
in
nation,
America.
wow, man. That's
Crazy,
that bro, the
crazy
walking
stuff.
dawah machine, bro. MashaAllah.
Literally.
Allah put barakah, man. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease the situation and make us the means of his emancipation, man. Ameen, ya Rabbal Alameen. So, Brother Wasik, whenever you're ready, let me know when to put up the pictures. I have the pictures ready to go.
Okay.
And if you're ready to share your first spoken word, audience are on standby. Bismillah.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'll introduce the poem, actually. It's titled A Poem for Rahaf. And so this past winter break, I had the opportunity to go with Helping Hand for Relief and Development. Shout out to Imam Haris, I believe, who works there in Dallas as well with Helping Hand. So I went this past winter break on a trip called Youth for Jordan. And this was a 1-week humanitarian service aid trip where we worked in Syrian refugee tent camps with the Palestinian refugees and many orphans affected by the crises. And so I wrote this poem in dedication to a 9-year-old girl that I met there in the Syrian refugee tent camp. And so this poem is titled, Are You Going to Forget Me?
Gotcha. So, yeah. Bismillah.
We get to go back. They don't. They have to stay there forever. Allah, why did you pick me to witness the conditions of our ummah? To be the face of hope for those who have lost everything. To be the father for girls who cannot express their love. To be the older brother of a child with no parents. I am not deserved of this. For my entire life, I never thanked you for these blessings. I am deluded in luxury. My life had no bliss. It had no joy. It had no satisfaction. How can a paralyzed woman living in a tent in the middle of the desert with her children unguarded be in bliss? Every moment of her life, her tongue is wet with the remembrance of God. She tells us that I thank Allah, that He is the one who takes care of me. Why does an entire community of refugees pick one tent to give the restroom to? Why are they willing to give to those who need it more? Why am I unwilling to give up what I love? Why haven't I learned trust in Allah? Why am I wasting my time? Why don't I feel their pain? Why haven't I realized the blessings in my life? I would rather live in simplicity and trade my entire life of luxury to have the peace that these people do. I'm scared in America. I'm scared that I won't be able to cry. I'm scared that I will misuse my opportunity. My entire life around me is just a distraction. This world is just a deception. Every little thing I do is a waste unless I do it for the sake of Allah. To observe the reality of life for a moment. To observe the reality of life for a moment, you will beg to never lose it. You will fear a life of distraction, of pointless motions, of addictions, of desires. You will value every breath. You will value every soul. You will value selflessness. You will give everything that you have. You won't think twice. You will give because you value mercy. There is something protecting you in a life of gratitude, in a life of patience, in a life of hoping for an eternal reward. Rahaf was the last girl that I saw. She wants to be a lawyer, just like me. She doesn't have an education, but her dreams are so strong. We played the entire time, and I secretly give her a gift. She tells me, "Are you going to forget me?" I say never. I tell her we're going to change this world together. I tell myself, what will I do for these people? Will I actually remember Raha forever? But first, how will I change myself? Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Was that the picture you sent? Was that her?
Yeah, that was her. So to continue the story, what happened was I wrote this poem on my flight back from the trip from Jordan. It was one of the most emotional flights, man, I could ever be on, flying away, leaving behind these people. And, Rahaf changed my life, man. This little girl who, played with her the entire time. And she, at the very end, she says, what she said to me, I was so surprised. Like, how could she ask such a question? Are you going to forget me? And when I left, Jordan, when I was on that flight, I just knew internally, I was like, there's no way I could leave her behind. There's no way, these girls, literally, they're in the middle of the desert. There's no education. They don't have a school. They don't have any opportunity. But their dreams of the world and their vision for what they want to do is still so, is so innocent, is so big in their hearts. And so this past Ramadan, we launched a campaign for Rahaf. It was a campaign to build a school for her and her camp. Alhamdulillah, within just a few days, I think it was just 3 days. It was in conjunction with a poem. If you guys go to my account, you'll see on IGTV this entire poem that I did. It was professionally filmed with clips. It's very emotional. You'll see the clips of everything I said in my poem from the trip in there. You'll see Rahaf playing with me at the very end of it, and even a very special voice clip of her at the very end.
Incredible.
And we raised the school, alhamdulillah, in just 3 days, about over $40,000. And they just delivered the school this past Wednesday, alhamdulillah. And that's her, sitting in the front row. And, there was other pictures and videos. And she was so happy and elated. And all the kids were, for the very first time in their lives. These are people ages from as young as 4 or 5 up until 13. And none of them, man, I remember we asked one of the mothers, they don't even know, the letters of the alif bat, and subhanallah, now we're being able to empower them and allow them all to pursue their dreams. So we named the school a school of dreams, after
School of dreams.
Rahaf.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So
Amazing.
this school has been built and already operational. Is that what I'm hearing?
They just delivered this past Wednesday, and so they're going to begin the start of this semester, inshallah. In 1-2 weeks, they'll have a teacher in, they'll have the school supplies, and
That's incredible, man.
They'll be teaching them. So
that, man, I can't even imagine the sadaqah jariyah you're piling up, bro, man. Is there what can people do here on live to contribute, to get involved if they were interested in contributing to this effort?
Well, to this specific campaign, inshallah, we're going to relaunch about every year. Right now, we exceeded our original goal, and so we funded enough for the first 2 years. And so,
Gotcha.
inshallah, next Ramadan, we'll be funding for the 3rd and 4th year. And right now, I have the intention, actually, was really inspired by the entire campaign. I had a group of team members working with me, to help market this. And, we're even thinking of, starting up a nonprofit, or starting up a documentary where we'll fly back over and interview these kids and track their lives. People like Rahaf and these children, if inshallah they're empowered by this school alone, if they are able to pursue up until graduate school, move to the city or whatever the case is, they could be change makers locally in
Yes.
Jordan, be the voice of the Syrian crisis, be the voice of the Palestinian conflict, and be able to make change. I think just a few days ago, I saw this boy, 11-year-old in Gaza camp, who was rapping. And so his video went viral, and, the AJ Plus, they did an interview with him. It's the same way. These children, we've left them behind, and the whole world has turned a blind eye to them. And, anyone can contribute. They can go to Helping Hand for Relief and Development and donate there. They can go to the Syrian Refugee Crisis tab and donate, inshallah.
Wonderful. Barakallah feek. Thank you so much for sharing with us all of this. I had a quick question. This School of Dreams in Syria, where exactly is this being built or being operationalized?
So the school, actually, I mean, because they're in a desert, it's a trailer. It's basically a trailer.
So I see the trailer right there in the back.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So they have a few of them out in the desert, but they really cannot operate without funding. They can't make a school unless they have a total sum of $18,000 to build the school, and then per year you have to fund it another $10K. And so is very rare. Out in the tent camps on the border of the Jordan and Syria, the most you can get, I mean, it's just tent camps, and they have like things like Valkyrie camp, the Syrian the largest world camp of Syrian refugees, where they have like micro homes that many agencies have provided, including Helping Hand. But the schools there is very rare. I mean, they're barely making ends meet to live. Education is the last thing that they're able to do.
So these are schools on trailers catering to the needs of the refugees inside these tents, is what I'm hearing, huh?
Exactly.
And are they like moving around the tents just to cater to as many as possible? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So what they will do is they'll no, it's not a mobile.
Gotcha.
What they'll do is they'll just place it in one area, and then all the community of refugee tent camps that are in that area vicinity, they'll enter that school, and that's it.
Gotcha.
So they'll go to school and then they'll come back and whatnot. So
that makes a lot of sense, man. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Thank you for sharing this with us. Many, I mean, including myself, being exposed to this is simply eye-opening. May Allah reward you.
Ameen.
May Allah bless you. Thank you for sharing this with us, and sharing this khair with us and the opportunity of khair. Brother Wasik, I want to thank you on behalf of ISM Core and our Milwaukee community for making the time for us and being available and sharing this beautiful poetry. I mean, the comments that were coming in, I was personally floored.
No, thank you. Thank you, Imam Ameer. It means a lot. It's an honor to be here in ISM Core and join you to be here on the stage. So
Jazakallah khairan. I hope, inshallah, when the situation improves, we'd love to have you come and visit our community, share live these videos, your performance. Man, inshallah, it's going to be lit. Inshallah, it's going to happen soon. Inshallah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Barakallah feek. You guys, thank you. And that brings us to the end of our Hangout episode today. May Allah bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Inshallah, I will see you in 2 weeks. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.